Here is today's homework for Algebra 2. We are doing a worksheet on factoring. And what you're going to do is use all the different types of factoring to factor these completely. So for number 1, actually I'm going to go down this row and then I'll do the next row. For the first one, this is a trinomial with a 1 in front. So you just ask yourself, what times what is x squared? X times x. And now what times what is 28 but adds to the 11? That would be a 7 and a 4. Next one, number 3. Again, this is the same type of factoring. This is the one where a is equal to 1. So s times s is s squared. And what times what is 42, but adds to be 13, and that would be 7 times 6. Next one, what times what is y squared, but adds in, what times what is 15, but adds to be negative 8, that would be y minus 3, y minus 5. Now for this one, we did this in class, you're going to pull out a negative 1 first. And if you pull out the negative 1, you're left with x squared minus 9x plus 18. So what times what is 18 but adds to be negative 9? So your answer would be x minus 3 times x minus 6. And for 9, you're going to pull out a negative 1. You're left with t squared plus 3t minus 54. What times what is negative 54 but adds to be 3, and that would be 9 and 3. So t minus 9, 9 and 6, and t plus 6. 6 times 9 is going to be a negative 54 but adds to be a negative 3. So now let's do these ones. Again, what times what is 24 but adds to the 11? And that would be x plus 3 and x plus 8. What times what is 21, but adds to be negative 10, x minus 7, x minus 3. What times what is 32, but adds to be negative 12? Well, let's see, 8 and 4. So it would be negative 8 and negative 4. Number 8, you're going to want to pull out a negative 1, and you're left with w squared minus 12w plus 35. So what times what is 35 but adds to be negative 12? So that's going to be 7 and 5. And the last one, what times what is 60 but adds to be negative 7? Okay, so that would be, what, 12 and 5? And that would be, one's going to be positive, one's negative. It's going to be a negative 12 and a positive 5. The next set, you are asked to find the greatest common factor and then factor that number out. So for this one, there's a 3 that's common. You're going to pull the 3 out. You're left with x squared minus 3. For 13, you can take a 2 out. You're left with a squared plus 11a and then plus 30. Now, if any of these can be factored completely, or more I should say, then you do that. For example, can you think of 2 numbers that multiply to give you 30 but add to be 11? And that would be 6 times 5. So this can be factored more. It's not completely factored if you just leave it like that. Number 12, looks like we can take out an 8m, and we're left with 2m plus 1. And number 14, you could take a 5 out, you're left with x squared plus 5x minus 5 goes into 70, that's once, 14 times. Now, can we factor this more? Yes, we can. What times what is negative 14 but adds to be 5? It would be 7 and negative 2. Okay. Now these next ones, you may have to guess and check on them or use the AC method. So if you want to use the AC method, you multiply 5 times 6, which is 30. And then what you're going to do is figure out what two numbers multiply to give you 30, but add to be negative 17. You can do it that way. Or you can guess and check. The guess and check method would look like this. So you're going to say what times what is 5x squared, 5x and x. And then what are you going to put here and here? It's going to be two negatives. So is it going to be 3 and 2? Let's check this out. That's 10. And then minus 3, that's not going to work. So let's try. Put a 2 here and a 3 here. That'll work. So if you put a negative here, that's going to give you negative 15 minus 2 is your negative 17. Okay. This next one, the reason why I'm not using the AC method is because these are small numbers. These are prime numbers. So you don't have much choice, and the guess and check method will be easier and quicker. So you don't have many choices for 2b squared. 2b times b is 2b squared. Now the 5, you're going to have either a 5 here, and a 1 here, or a 1 here and a 5 here. Well, I want 9, so I'm going to put a negative 5 here. That's going to give me negative 10, and a 1 here, that's going to balance and give me my negative 9. This one looks like a perfect square trinomial. It looks like the first term is a perfect square and the last term is a perfect square. So let's see if we get 3x, 3x, and these are both going to be negative 1, and we get our negative 6 in the middle. 23 is the difference of two perfect squares, n minus 7 and plus 7. Okay, number 18. This one is also a trinomial that has to be factored. So I'm going to do 3, you don't have many choices for this, 3x and x. Now, I want two numbers that multiply to give you 8, which is 4 and 2, or you could do 8 and 1. Chances are it's going to be 4 times 2, and does this work? 3 times 2 is 6, and 6 plus 4 is 10, so that works. That was quick. Number 20 is also a perfect square trinomial when the first and the last are perfect squares, and twice each of these at z times 6 is 6z times 2 is 12. You're going to end up with, and you can simplify this, you could write z plus 6 quantity squared to shorten it. This one also is the perfect square trinomial. Because 2k times 3 is 6k times 2 is 12. This is going to be the plus sign, and you can square it like that. 24, you're going to take out a 2, and you're left with x squared minus 25. And this is not completely factored because this is the difference of two perfect squares. You've got 2 times x minus 5 times x plus 5. And now it is done. This one says the area of a rectangular field is x squared minus x minus 72. If one of the sides is x plus 8, all they want to know is what's the other side. That's easy. If one side is x plus 8, what are we going to put here? What's missing? What would this be? This would be an x, and this is going to be a negative 9. Because 8 times negative 9 is negative 72, and they add to be negative 1. So the other side would be x minus 9. Okay. These next 4, it's factor completely. Let's practice the AC method, because we use guess and check on the other one. So how do you do AC method? You're going to multiply 2 times 10, you get 20. I need to know what two numbers multiply to give me 20, but they will add to be 9x. So you're going to rewrite this as 4x plus 5x. Because 4 times 5 is 20, but they add to be 9. Now you're going to factor by grouping. Take what is common in these two. Take out a 2x, you're left with x plus 2. And take out a 5, you're left with x plus 2. So you have x plus 2 you're going to take out, and you're left with 2x plus 5. Next one, number 30, working down. You've got 3 times negative 3, which is negative 9. What two numbers multiply to give you negative 9, but add to be 8? And that would be 9 and 1. So you're going to rewrite this as 3x squared plus 9x minus 1x. That gives you your 8x, and then minus 3. So factor a 3x out of the first two. You're left with x plus 3. Factor out a negative 1 here. You're left with x plus 3. And your final answer is x plus 3 times 3x minus 1. Number 29, you multiply 6 times 1, you get 6. What two numbers multiply to give you 6y, but add to be, so they both have to be positive or they both have to be negative. This is tricky. So you're going to make this negative 3y and then minus 2y, because a negative 3 times a negative 2 is a positive 6. So this is what you have here. You're going to pull out of these two a 3y, and you're left with 2y minus 1. And for this one, you're going to take out a negative 1, and you're left with 2y minus 1. Final answer would be 2y minus 1 times 3y minus 1. And the last one, 4 times negative 15 is negative 60. What two numbers multiply to give you negative 60, but add to be negative 7? So let's see. We have 1 times 60, that's not going to work. We have 2 times 30, that's not going to work. We have 3 times 20, that's not going to work. We have 4 times 15, not going to work. We have 5 times 12. That's it right there. If we do negative 5, that is not going to work, because one has to be positive. Nope, that's it. That's it. 12 and 5. One's going to be negative and one's going to be positive. That's it. 5 and 12. These are your numbers. So we're going to write 4x squared. One of these has to be negative and one has to be positive. Well, which one's going to be negative is the negative 12. Negative 12x and 5x. That's going to give you your negative 7x, and then they multiply to give you negative 60. So that worked. So take out a 4x here, and you're left with x minus 3. And here take out a 5, and you're left with x minus 3. And so your final answer is x minus 3 times 4x plus 5. These are taken out right here, and then you're left with 4x plus 5. And we are done.